Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you can hear me. I'll get cracking with a very brief update and then move on to the questions. If you've got any questions, please ask them in Discord in the AMA questions. I don't have the ability to flick between all of the different sort of apps to make sure that I've kept up to date on the questions. Or by all means, when we get to that stage, jump up and ask the question, verbally. Cool. So without further ado, recently, I have been sort of holding the reins of the DeFi ecosystem development and moving that forward. Specifically, Swaps 2.5, which is again another substantial upgrade in our opinion. You've seen a couple of the teaser videos, and we will start to ramp up the marketing for this because we think we're at the stage now where we're providing a product that is actually, greatly superior to most of the solutions out there. The Houdini swap integration will exist there. There will be a refreshed UI again that we've rejigged, which I hope you'll all like. There's an advanced toggle button that gives you a very clean interface and a very basic interface, and then there's obviously all the more advanced options. So if you are a person that is very much minimalistic, much like the Uniswap interfaces, you can have that option, and there'll be an advanced option for all the other bells and whistles. There will be an additional 3 more chains: Avalanche, Phantom, and Aurora, which is exciting for us. And a little bit more on Aurora later when we get down towards Reactor. There will be a bit of a quiet one, but immensely useful, is the import any token function that we were previously sort of stuck a few times before on the other chains apart from Ethereum. So that's been brought to the other chains now, the ability to copy and paste a contract that isn't in a predefined list, and to be able to sort of import that function or import that token to swap. And then the large sort of the large and more exciting development is the advent of AI integration into the DeFi ecosystem as a whole, and how to do that. So there are sort of a few things you can do. Fraud and anomaly detection. I haven't been drinking, I promise. So that's a very useful, very useful tool to have, especially considering what we're doing with the reactor and how we're looking to, to sort of basically call out a lot of these sort of these sort of rug-based products and projects that sort of sprouting up everywhere. So that will be an extra level of protection for the user. There's things like slippage protection. I know we're suffering a lot from some MEV bots at the moment, but AI can sort of help with that. Prediction analysis for tokens, prediction analysis for sort of charts, and based on historical events. That this is obviously a little bit further down the road. User education is a big one, and sort of price prediction as well, which sort of ties in with the prediction analysis. So there's some exciting things that we can do with AI that we're looking at the moment. But there will be an initial AI integration in Swaps 2.5, but I will keep that under wraps for the time being, and you'll see that. And then as we move on through the integrations, we will continue to sort of blend that into our development releases. So that's kind of Swaps 2.5. The next sort of part of the DeFi ecosystem that we'll be working on is Farms 3.0. Farms 3.0, the smart contract has already been completed. It's already done and dusted. It's just sat queuing, waiting for Henry to have 5 minutes of breathing space to take the reactor over the contract and make sure it's crystal clean. And that will be deployed. Farms 3.0, for those of you who are either lazy or not up to speed with things, or haven't got the time to have a look. Joking, not lazy. It will be essentially the same principle, but there will be 5 farms. There'll be the farm that you know it is now, and that farm will have a zero lock retention on it, but it'll have a very low APY. At the moment, you get the best of both worlds. You have a relatively decent APY, but you have the ability to take your tokens in and out without any penalty or any lock period. This obviously it's something that we wanted to change. So it will be the first farm, which will be very similar to this one, but the APY will be very, very low in comparison. You'll have a 30, a 60, a 90, and a 120-day lock, and the increment will increase with the API. The 120-day lock will be probably, well, it will be a higher APY than it is now available, to entice people to make a longer-term commitment. So that is the plan with Farms 3.0. There's no sort of, it's relatively simple concept. It's done already all over in the space, but we think that gives people more options, more flexibility. They can split their token allocation down if they want, but it also ties up more tokens for a longer period. So yeah, that's Farms 3.0, and that will sit in behind 2.5 swaps. Then we have 3.0 swaps, which will be limit orders. That will be coming to swaps 3.0, and that's quite a big development. Swaps 3.0s will be there'll be less happening, but it's more significant. The limit orders and potentially some other gamification elements to swaps, should I say? I won't go into any more detail, but we're starting to look at other ways that we can improve that sort of performance. And as you all agree, decentralized exchanges or the swaps functions are very, very similar. The prices are very, very similar. There's not much in it. So we're looking at sort of ways to entice people into our swaps. And gamification is something that we think would work really well. Moving on to the reactor. Since this explosion of large language models, GPT-4, Bard, and all of the offsprings of GPT, all of the open sourced like AutoGPT and other areas like that, we've been focusing on how that can help turbocharge the reactor's development and as which way. So Henry at the moment is working on that. He is currently working on the integration, and he's finished the core APIs. So the core APIs that allow any other APIs to be built has all been completed. So that's a good step. But what we've done now is we just deviated them slightly onto some L1 integrations specific. That remember that grant we spoke about a while back that had to sort of sit idle whilst Henry finished the APIs on the core APIs on the reactor, and now he's switching back focus onto these integration L1s, and one of them is as a grant attached, and one of them has a co-marketing attached to it. So Henry's now focusing on that side of things in order for us to move forward with that level of progression, and he's also looking at AI integration into the reactor as well. As you can imagine, it's quite the feat. So it's something that Henry is at the moment getting his head around to work out the best way to go down the route, so we are as efficient as physically possible. So that's what's going on with the reactor. Like I said, I've heard lots of strange messages. I've had DMs and sort of asking what's going on because we have been quite quiet. But yeah, everything is moving along as it should be in that field. So yeah, we're really excited about that. And that is pretty much where we're at from an update. So I'll go through some questions. I know there were some people had questions regarding investment and things like that. So I'll cover those specifically to the questions. So starting at the top, this is the token. Anything you share regarding developer DAO testing the reactor? Yes, and yes, I can. Yeah, we've basically we've put them whilst we're looking at the AI function and completing it. We're holding off on releasing them into the reactor at this stage. Purely, otherwise, it will be sort of mixed messages with them back and forth. Sorry, can you guys hear me? My audio just went funny then. AJ wants to come and talk. AJ, can you hear me? AJ? I'll assume. I'll assume. So yes. So the developer data thing. So it's all tactical at the moment. It's about waiting to see what direction we're going to go in. Obviously, as the CTO, um, it's it's Henry's call on that. So he knows that industry, and he knows what he wants to provide to people at any specific time. So that is something that we're still talking with them, and we will present them the reactor when we're pretty much when we're ready for it. How far away from public V1 are we? Is there any estimate you can share? Not at the moment. Not at the moment. It's one of these things where development's still plodding away, but there are so many different avenues we can go down to market. It's about finding the right one. And for us, it's really important that we pick the right one. Knowing how fast AI is moving, that is the sort of direction we feel is probably the most prevalent to go in. So that's what we're going to go.
So in summary, yes and no.
Yeah.
Hey team, sorry I'm late. Just got off a number of different phone calls. Thank you, George. You sound very tired. It must be late.
2 seconds, mate. I'm having a mare with my audio. Oh, headsets.
We can hear you.
Yeah, because I can see on my phone, but it's not coming through my headsets anymore. Right.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is a great example of why AirPods are not fantastic.
They're not AirPods. They're like the most expensive Bose headphones you can buy, and they've just suddenly decided to no, they don't want to play. Anyway,
What did you get them on Wish?
No, I didn't get them on Wish. anyway, I'll just talk into my phone. It's a tricky one. We need to estimate the time. We need to do a bit more development. We want to push it a bit in a different direction. So we've changed tack a little bit. So there will be an update with regards to our timeline, but it's not something we're even remotely bothered about at this stage, if I'm honest. Speculations about a sex listing. Anything you're allowed to tell us today? No, but it's something that TJ wants to push forward now, and we do have two of the people that I met in Dubai. We've had some good conversations with them, and we feel that AJ, can you mute your mic a bit, mate? When we're talking, it's we can hear a lot of background noise. Thank you. So the sex listings, it's a thing. It's something we think that we can get a lot of value for from a cost perspective with regards to sort of big marketing campaigns and the cost associated with them, and we feel it's the sort of the first platform for credibility for other centralized exchange and for other projects to look at us and for other influencers to look at us and for just people's peace of mind as well, new investors. So this is something that we're looking at, and TJ is very very interested in pursuing both these routes of these two centralized exchanges, and seeing which one he feels will give us the most bang for our buck. It's quite a quick process when TJ decides to pull the trigger. You're looking at within a week, but again, it's a timing thing, and I will let him. He'll have to make that call as and when he's ready. More about the big picture. ARC seems to be developing on more fronts than I can count. So I mean, essentially, it's just two fronts. One is the DeFi ecosystem, and one is the reactor. And there's a lot of crossover. And now we're looking to factor the AI in as well. There's even more crossover. So it's not multiple fronts. We're not stretching ourselves too thin at all. It's just those two areas we feel that we can gain traction from. Otherwise we would have abandoned that DeFi ecosystem a long time ago, but with the reactor and its development abilities, we are able to do other things with the DeFi ecosystem to showcase it. So we're really excited about that. That's probably why we've been quite quiet, is because it's just been hammering away, making sure we get everything right. Marco, how is the association going with the L1 and the progress integration? Well, I've spoke about that. It's now back on. It was parked for about 2 weeks for Henry to finish, and now it's back on. Can we name any successful partnerships forged at any of the fairs? I'm guessing he means the summit and stuff. Partnerships? No, not really. Not a partnership. I'm not going to use that word in its tacky sense. But some good relationships and some good introductions made. And unfortunately, it's a long game with these sorts of things. So it's a case of just sort of plugging away. Is Q2 still maintained as the date for the public release of the reactor? I will let TJ answer that, but in short, I doubt it. But I doubt it from a technical perspective. I doubt it from a tactical perspective, not a technical one. We are going to look to continue to develop the reactor, but as far as public release, I would.
Well, let's break it down just very briefly, because you're right, but it's not correct, right? So, like, hey team, this is Anthony speaking. We're definitely for public release. No, open beta, yes, right? So of course, there's a lot that needs to be tested once it's implemented and developed. Henry is working extremely diligently on making sure that we are prepared for the open beta release. There will be a period of time for testing. Anyone can join to test the product. We learn about what we've created, the interactions, the use cases, how people are developing and building with the reactor. And then, of course, once those learnings are collected, and if there's any sort of areas that we might have not given the most attention to, where users are finding maybe some friction, we improve upon those things. And then, of course, there is a public release.
Thanks, mate.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you did. You could be nice and rude, but I don't expect anything less from you, if I'm honest.
Just for the community here, George and I have a healthy love-hate relationship, because he's across the pond. I'm an American, and we have a nice little camaraderie going on.
Yeah. I'm softening him up for the invasion of the United States. What AJ said is bang on. It's kind of like it's more about us making sure that we are targeting the right people at the right time, and we want to have. The problem is also we want to have so many working parts to it. It's a constant back and forth as to when we release it and with what. So, but the AI is the next exciting sort of level that we're working on. So, I probably haven't answered the question very well there at all, but it's a little bit fluid. Compare the two differences. AJ, you want to say something, AJ?
Oh no, I'm just preparing to interrupt you again.
Okay, fine. Well, you keep that muted until you do that.
Yes, of course. Apologies, everybody. I'm at Bitcoin Miami, so I'm in a networking zone, and if there's some background noise, I apologize. So I'll mute myself.
Thanks, mate. So compared the two trips to Dubai and Paris. Paris was an exhibition for us where we had a stand and we showcased the reactor and just did it repetitively for 3 days, constant, and had some sort of good traction. Whereas Dubai was two events, a crypto event and a fintech event, which were sort of a mixture of fact-finding, networking, and introducing ourselves to different people in the space. The fintech side of things was very much probably what the fintech industry would describe as very forward thinking in their respect. So there were it's probably 20% of the audience there was sort of around crypto and around Web3, and some of the speeches that were done, some of the keynote speeches that were done were very good actually, and interestingly they focused on crypto and not Bitcoin. So obviously they were very much sort of looking at that Web3 space and what it can bring. So it was fact finding, networking. We spoke to a few individuals in that sort of tech industry, but this will be something that we're sort of baking over a period of time. And the crypto event was good. We spoke to the some market makers, exchanges. We spoke to some absolute nutter from from Eastern Europe who does fund recovery, should I say, whether it be legal or illegal, basically in uncertain terms. So that was an interesting conversation to have. We introduced him to Alex Hong and our situation from a while back. But yeah, they do fund recovery. We spoke to loads of people. We spoke to sort of, capture technological implementation people. I'm trying to think who else we covered bases with, but and listened to a few keynote speeches there as well. It was crazy going back and forth between the two events, but yeah, I would say Paris was more useful to showcase the reactor, whereas the other were more networking events, and obviously you haven't got a stand, so it's a bit harder work. What can you share that excites you more about the future of ARC than say what you felt 3 months ago? I'll go first, then I'll invite AJ because I'm sure he's dying to say something. I would say for me, it's with the explosion of large language models in AI, and I've been doing loads of research. I watched the entire Google keynote speech, the 2.5 hours, on what they're doing with AI and what they're pushing forward, and it's just sort of it's opened an additional dimension to what we're doing with the DeFi system, and more importantly with the React. So I'd say that's the most exciting thing for me, is that how that explosion is sort of presented itself well for us. So AJ is now not listening.
Nope, I'm here. Sorry.
Well, AJ, the question was, what can you share that excites you more about the future of ARC than what you had maybe 3 months ago?
Oh my gosh.
I said AIs. The explosion of AIs opened up even more doors for us.
That is that's a very interesting one. I think I kind of came in not anticipating that whatsoever. And you all know that I'm the most recent hire on the team. I think what interests me the most and what excites me the most is the market opportunity for what we've created. Not simply in Web3, but being able to bridge and leverage existing software engineers and developers across the world to use the tool in programming languages that they have already had, deep experience in, and being able to launch and deploy products, services, dApps in any Web3 environment simply by programming and coding in their native language without having to know the syntax differences or having to learn Solidity or Yule or bytecode or anything like that. The market just continues to expand. I'm really excited about that. That really tickles me.
Nice. Cheers, mate. Thank you very much. How many launch partners will we have for Reactor to help speed up adoption? I mean, it's an open that's not been prepped yet properly, but we will have the likes of AJ. Can you mute again, mate, please? We will have the likes of Developer DAO and all the L1 partnerships and people like that. So the plan will be that it is an event, and that we have enough people covering it, using it. So that's the plan with that, and obviously then we'll crank up the marketing side of things as well, which will again speed up adoption, and that's the plan for that. How is the funding raise going? AJ, let's bring you back in, because I know there are some decent things moving forward in that.
So full transparency, I think during April things got a little quiet. It was really hot for different trade shows across the world. A lot of VCs were traveling, or that they were probably dealing with the repercussions of some of the financial collapse in the United States. One of the things that we've witnessed is a lot of VCs were taking a break to essentially re-strategize how they manage their finances. So it was quiet for a while, rightfully so. But now things are picking back up in full steam. This week we've met with 3 different venture groups. One is a clear leader for the raise. They just hit us with some extensive due diligence questions, which is always a great sign. We just responded back to them with like a six-page document outlining all of their questions. They are a lead investor, so we're still on the beat. I'm very optimistic about the three that we have on the table right now, which will get us to probably 80% of the rigs.
And you're putting the rest, yeah, AJ, for not closing the whole raise, I'm guessing.
Exactly. Yeah, I've never
Good stuff.
sold any ARC, so I'll just liquidate and I'll dump it on everybody.
Nice.
I'm kidding.
Cool.
Yeah, I've been a token holder since it was launched. I've never sold anything, and I've actually just kept it in the farms ever since.
Steal some Bitcoin from people in Miami.
I've been collecting some free Satoshis since being here. There's like a ton of QR codes, people giving away Satoshis, which is cool. I think I've collected maybe 45 cents.
Nice. Well, you don't need to be paid this. No pay for you this week then.
Yeah, I've doubled my salary here. This is great.
Yeah. Right, get back to work. Okay. Thank you, AJ. When announcement about L1 grant, we've spoken about that already. The cutoff date for us to have that integrated is the 28th of May. So that gives you something more than soon. So, we've got sort of 11 days to have that all implemented, which will be no problem. Again, down to his sarcasm. So does that mean that Stark Farm will be at least 120 days? I'm not sure where you got 120 days from. That's it, he's typing again. If you can write that to make more sense, mate, that'd be great. Sam just providing no benefit whatsoever, just giving little slide digs at me all the way through this. Is the level of expertise required to audit a contract very high? In short, not particularly. I assume that people with less technical expertise than Henry could have audited the new contract properly. Yes, 100%. We paid $30,000 to audit 4 contracts last time with Certic, and there were still errors in them. So the question I pose to you is that do you have the contract audited by an auditing company who basically just get human beings to go through it, or do we wait for Henry to pump it through the reactor to make sure that algorithms pick up and also Henry's experience? That's the other thing, is that a lot of these things have sort of backdoors into them and weaknesses that won't be picked up in the smart contract. The smart contract text might be absolutely bang on, so they audit the smart contract's fine, but then it's the way it's implemented. There's a weakness in it. So it doesn't have to be Henry, no, 100%. But the long and the short of it is that I would feel a lot more comfortable him just casting an eye over the contract through the reactor. So, but again, we're not in a rush with Farms 3.0. It's not something that's holding us back. So that's the reason I mentioned it. Again, a live demo on how auditing is performing reactor would be great. Yeah, so TJ is still planning on doing and on holding this basically walkthrough reactor to go through these things with you as a community. I didn't want to delay this for that, so I thought that this would be good to answer some questions and keep you guys in the loop a little bit better before TJ runs through some more technical stuff with people who are interested about that. The reactor's token requirement to use and a future version of the farms will provide rewards. Are there any other incentives being thought up to give more value to the token and incentivize people to want to buy it? Well, there's already the utility behind the token from a staking perspective to the reactor. It clearly, the utility is clearly highlighted on the website. So as far as, it's always bugged me this a little bit, because as far as the sort of the utility of the token's concerned, I'd argue that we've got more utility than most projects out there with regards to their token utility. Like Uniswap, what utility do they have? What to their token? So I would say we've got tons of it. And with the reactor being being a software product, essentially, that can be utilized by people, it's a huge, I'd say it's a absolutely huge factor to hold on to that as a utility. Yeah, I mean, if they aren't enough, if those reasons on the website aren't enough for utility arguments, then I'm not sure it is. But yeah, of course, if there are any other sort of ways that we feel that we can add even more utility to the token down the road, then yeah, by all means. And we're all ears. If you guys come up with any sort of any ideas, then we're happy with that. But we feel that we've put it in the right place. If we are locked up in the farms 3.0, sarcasm, you're going to have to put all this together for the question. But let me go back and have a look at yours. So does this mean that Stark Farm will be at least 120 days away? No, no. What I meant was that, for example, for the highest APY, you'd have to lock your tokens away. So you would lock them in, wouldn't be able to touch them for 120 days. They are locked, and that's how Farms 3.0 will act, so to speak. When is this event theoretically? The event. I don't know what you mean. The event. It feels like there's ongoing scope creep to create the perfect ecosystem, include every new partner. Curious what was satisfying of plans. Launch events. Oh, you mean the reactor? It's the. I told you it's the AI element. That's something we don't want to wait on that. So yeah, it's not scope creep. It's probably a little bit of scope change, if I'm honest. But it's all something that we have thought through very meticulously over the last couple of weeks, and had many discussions with Henry over in order to make sure that we get that next step right. Because it's not the next step; it's that if we take a step in a slightly different direction, it's the 4, 5, 6 steps there. And once you go down a specific route in development, you can waste a lot of time then changing tack. So it's something that we've had to give a lot of thought to. But no, we're very, very, very cautious of scope creep, purely because we have 2 development sort of timelines that we're working on, which is enough work as is. But we feel we can still achieve both things. So if we're locked up 120 days in the farms, presumably farms 4.0 or whatever to earn Stark wouldn't be coming online during this period, or will it disadvantage everyone that locks up their ARC long term? So I see what you mean. No, it won't affect the Stark element, but the Stark element will tie in with the reactor. So we will not make sure that the farms sort of run past the time when the reactor would launch with the Stark token as a benefit. But let me get back to you on that one. Message me offline DM me any more specific details you want about that, because I'm still not understanding what you mean about Stark being pushed back. So yeah, not a question. For the love of God, do not use CertiK for any more audits. They are hopeless, as the vast majority of auditors are outside the big ones, like Sonara, Code Arena, Trail of Bits. Bit of a weird one. See what happened with Merlin, who's CertiK audited, as one example of how useless they are. Yeah, exactly. So, it's all this, like, it was a good stamp, but it's 30 grand, and all they do is get human beings to run down through the code. So yeah, we feel we do a better job. Stark will come when there's enough revenue, with my understanding. Yes, of course. Stark will come with revenue. So, but it'll be when it'll be enticed with when the reactor launches to in the public launch. So it's not going to be anytime soon. So we will have to go back. We will have to tweak the roadmap. But if you look at the roadmap, there are some things that will have been delivered early, some things that will be just shuffled around, and some things that would have been pushed back. But again, this is the way of things. I'm afraid, guys. It's not necessarily as clean as it would have liked to be, but as I'm sure you can all appreciate, the way AI has exploded with these large language models and the speed at which they're developing, it would be remiss of us not to take advantage of that. So I hope you can appreciate the agility that we are trying to bring into the space. So Stark will launch more than 4 months from now, is what I mean. No, not necessarily. No, it won't necessarily launch from 4 months from now. We will have to get back to you with regards to how the rewards system will work going forward. Yes, sarcasm. You haven't got to lock up for 120 days. You can lock up for a shorter period. But remember, the rewards will be based on how many you have. So yes, the farms, there will have to be another farm that is then created from that. But don't worry, that we will not create a system where it basically um, causes you guys to miss out on anything. No, but I will want to. Yeah, no, that's fine. Don't worry. Don't worry. So remember this. Remember, Stark is rewarded based on revenue as a percentage of what you hold. So unless I'm missing something, I'll have to speak to Logan Henry about this. When that's issued, it will be on the basis of whatever you hold. So it shouldn't make much difference. So. Yeah, no, I know what you're saying, Crypto Walker. I can't tell you for the correctly right now exactly how that will work, or whether we will be able to sort of migrate that over from the current farms. But it will be a smart contract that controls who gets issued what. So it might not matter. But yeah, cool. Any other questions, guys? Sarcasm is not happy. He's not happy with the answer, or maybe he is. But yeah, but in general, everything's moving on very nicely. Yes, there's a slight sort of tack slightly more heavily onto the AI stuff, but we think you're going to really enjoy it, especially with the swaps and what that brings to it. And I haven't seen it done in any other swaps function at the moment. And we will continue to churn out decent products. And yeah, we will continue to make all our products better, and we will be as tactful with the reactor as we physically can. But we're not holding back anything, for the sake of it. It's all about that development cycle. So, but yeah, everyone's tired because they're working very, very hard. AJ's traveling around all over the place, as is TJ, and we are creeping closer towards the potential of some form of investment, which would be absolutely huge, as I think you can all imagine. And we're looking at a centralized exchange listing as well, which is again something that we've been holding off tactically for a long period of time. But again, we now feel that this is the sort of right time to start to get in there on one of those. So yeah, lots and lots happening. Lots and lots happening. But when Reactor publicly available? I'm guessing CryptoWatch trying to wind me up now, so I'll just ignore that one. But still only pre-rich. Okay. Not sure. Any other questions, guys? Any other questions at all? Or I will wrap this one up. AJ, do you have anything that you want to share?
I do. I'm very disappointed that we couldn't get a chance to see your lovely hair.
Okay, look. Not all of us are at Bitcoin Miami having an amazing time drinking cocktails and stuff. So
I'm drinking coffee right now. I'm not drinking cocktails.
Irish coffee.
No, sadly, no.
No. It's Twitter Space is good. We can record it and we can send it out, and we'll chop up some important bits and less waffle, and we'll send those out so people that can who haven't been able to make it can listen on.
Beautiful. Yeah, no, Twitter Space is great for me because no one gets to see my ugly face, but disappointing for everyone else because we can't look at you.
Oh God, who's paid you? Right.
I don't know. You're the only British man that I know that has great teeth.
Jesus Christ. Nice. Well, look, you need to get back to work and get people there talking about ARC. And get people talking about ARC.
I've scheduled a few meetings with a number of VCs today, so I'm definitely going to be beating the pavement.
Good stuff. Cool. The last thing I'll say, guys, is that I appreciate this bear market is still dragging on. We had that sort of initial sort of release of Bitcoin out of the lows, and nothing else really has seemed to follow it. I would just say try and keep the faith. Try not to be, any tokens. Try not to be shaken out at this stage if you can absolutely help it. But I can guarantee you, everyone is working their asses off, and we hope you'll like what you see with Swaps 2.5 and some of the other DeFi ecosystem things that we've been working on as well. And then I'm sure TJ will run you through all of the facets of the reactor, specifically
Did we
going through a
share what
demo.
we're doing? Did we share what we're doing with the next swaps, or is that still a secret?
Yeah. I've gone through the whole thing, mate.
Okay, cool.
It's all good, yeah. So, but TJ will demo this, and it'll be a bit more of a geek. We'll call it a geek call. I'll get that dig in on him now whilst he's not here. But it'll be for people who specifically want to go and see what the reactor can do with regards to the latest updates and stuff like that. And TJ can answer some more questions if you've got any more ones about the core APIs and what that means and what that leads on to next. But yeah, all things are good. All things are on course. So yeah.
Sweet. I just want to call out FinTech Swiss, who's on the call right now. Thank you for your help. He's been exceedingly helpful with us, just not only as a partner and a tester of the reactor, but also providing some very good visibility into the investment space. So I see you're on the call. I want to say thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Eve. Very, very helpful, as always. So yeah, cool. All right, guys. If there's nothing else, I hope this has sort of read you back into what we're doing. Apologies, it's been a bit skitty as of late. It's just, yeah, we haven't passed the information down well enough to the associates and people like that. But now we know sort of our direction and what we're doing. We'll have some more concrete information that comes out from official sources. So keep an eye on Twitter for and other social media channels for specific AI updates for the Swaps 2.5 that haven't been verbalized yet. And you know where to find us, guys, if you want to have a dig, throw some abuse, whatever it is, you know where to find us. Sam needs to be your first port of call for abuse, but does anyone want to ask any questions on stage? Because it's been, oh shit, there we go. Approve, Eve. Sir Eve, welcome to the stage. Bonjour.
Anybody hear me?
Guten Tag.
This is Eve, the FinTech Swiss they just mentioned. Sorry, I've just been running a little bit out of breath. But yeah, it's cool to listen to you guys while running. I just wanted to say that, first of all, to everybody who might have been doubting, I've been a tester, and I work with one of the OGs in Europe. So we've been around for 10 years. And I met you guys in Paris. So I think you guys are really like trying to get the best of the reactor and get the right momentum, also leveraging the whole AI movement. I think that's perfectly right. So anybody who's doubting, you guys have my full support, and I'm 100% behind you guys. If anybody has some questions or doubts, also can reach out to me. Happy to tell you why I'm convinced without sharing secrets. I don't know any secrets, actually.
You're the man, Yves. Thank you.
Thank you, Eve. Yeah, very kind of you to say that. So yeah, I appreciate it. When you don't hear much information, it's the little put your tinfoil hat on and you start sort of like worrying about being rugged and all this sort of stuff. But yeah, that's on me. So I'll put some more focus onto making sure that information gets fed down. But also we need to make sure that we've got the right information ourselves internally before we just start sort of spreading that news. So but we're pretty confident now. We know in which direction we're going, and we're not jumping on the AI bandwagon either. I just want to make that abundantly clear. This is not some bandwagon that we just plug the word AI into the back of things and try and get the token to pump. It has an absolute huge effect on the products we're working with, and we feel that it's the right way to go. So I'll leave it at that. TJ will probably go into a bit more when he does his demo. But yeah, thank you very much, Eve, for jumping up. Does anyone else want to pop up and hurl some abuse or ask any questions? No.
Yeah. Anyone else want to make fun of George for being British?
Said the Italian American. You're like the cringiest type of Americans. It's like,
Oh man,
yeah,
I'm
come
from
on.
Philadelphia, so I'm really my rough edges have been significantly rounded out. So I'm, yes, I may be
Okay.
a dirty Italian, but I've been rounded out pretty well.
By what? By who? Well, Americans. Yeah, super
I,
rounded out.
hey man, I grew up in Philadelphia. That's a tough city,
Yeah, I don't, but no doubt. Um, no questions, guys. Nuclear turnip. You normally have some interesting. Oh, oh, yes, good stuff. Who's this? Darth. What am I looking at? Darth Crad. What does that say? Darth Crader. Requested, accepted. 2 seconds. Darth Crader. Welcome to the stage. Yes, we can hear you, mate.
All right, cheers, George. Folks trying to make fun of you that you're British. I think Rishi Sunak is doing a good job clowning all the British on your behalf. But anyways, in terms of the what you guys have planned next, what's in the pipeline? So you guys you've done you've done Paris, you've done Dubai, I believe. So is
Yeah.
it just to hunker down now and just focus on, will I say the big event, which is open beta for the reactor,
Yep.
and what else? What else am I missing?
No, so the only other Bitcoin Miami was one that we just sent AJ to. Relatively inexpensive for him to shoot down there. He's got family nearby, so that's one we wanted to sort of just scope out. The only other one is in September, which is TechCrunch, which is huge for disruptive technology, and that's one that sort of will be attended. But we are aiming to exhibit there if we can get the space, which is huge because from a technological perspective, this is where you get seen in these circles. But yes, there was a period. Obviously, we had a few events to go to, but it's a tricky one because you've got to be seen by people. And it does. AJ will tell you from his experience, and no doubt that it only takes for one to bump into the right person at one of these events at the right time, and suddenly you've got yourself a leading bet. I'm sure Eve will also vouch for that. It's not a quick process where you pop out to an event, people see you, yeah, I'll invest in that. Yeah, sure, that's not a drama. These things can sometimes take months and years, back and forth. And the macro environment is something that you've got to consider as well. It's been very tough recently. So it is a fine line between making sure that you're seen and making sure that you don't expend too many funds and that you can sit down and do the graft that's required as well. So yeah. So what are you missing? Nothing really. The open beta for the reactor is still very much on the plans, but hopefully we will have a slightly different direction that we can bolt into it before we go to that stage. So yeah, quiet for the rest of the year, really, apart from TechCrunch in September. And yeah, just keep grinding out products. I mean, the amount of shite I see on Twitter that people are happy, it just tells me that one thing, and that is the space is full of gamblers. So, and gamblers will go with the quick option. The quick option is memes, and the quick option is, sort of like getting in really early on something, but you're going to get stung a few times when you do that. So, the difficulty is that the credible projects, no one's talking about credible projects at the moment. It's just not a thing. Like the big L1s and like the likes of Dot and Link, I haven't heard anyone talk about them. They're all dead, everything's dead. So it's a tricky place to be in at the moment, if I'm honest. So yeah, you're not missing anything, mate. We will announce the open beta for the reactor, but we want to do these extra little steps before we get to that place, if that makes sense.
Oh no, that's fine, George. Thanks. And sorry, do you mind if I pile on another question, a follow-on question?
Go for it, mate.
All right, cheers. So, obviously, we're trying to raise funds as well.
Yeah.
There's it's gone a percentage. I don't know what that is, right? So how does the raising of the funds, right? Like when is there a cutoff, one, and two, how is that supposed to help? Um, like what are the funds going to be primarily for, right? Because we're already developing the reactor.
Yep.
And I guess a huge part of the chunk of those funds is obviously OPEX, right? Which is what you guys do month to month. And
Yep.
then, putting in, I don't know what else features. But yeah, so primary, I guess what I'm saying is, apart from what you're doing now,
Yep.
right? What will that fundraising do per se?
Well, huge amounts really. So it's probably the start. You might have seen the when marketing. Um, Again, marketing is something that you normally have to spend a decent amount of money on and over a regular period of time. I mean, we had some quotes back from some PR companies, and these are not big PR companies, and they charge 30K a month. So once you're looking at that level of money to have a consistently strong marketing message and PR campaigns, that
Yeah.
over a year's or 6 months, that's a decent amount of money to spend on that. You've got the ability to, obviously, with the core APIs done for the reactor. What that means is that when Henry can push forward for other APIs, it means that you could pay a development firms to complete a scope of work where they don't have the access to the source code, the obfuscation layer, and all the other sort of technology that we want to keep under wraps, but they can still develop on the platform. So you could have, concurrently three, say, development firms working on a collaborative function. You could have one working on, an AI integration or whatever you wanted to do. So it will speed up your development ability. So you could have one working on the new farms, the Stark token, as we've heard, and all those sort of other areas you can work on. So it just allows you to do everything much quicker, much quicker. And you could possibly take, we would build the team out a little bit, not huge amounts, but having someone who's dedicated in that social media and marketing managing role. We'd probably take on some form of marketing permanently. They would probably do more BD events. AJ would switch then from this, in his revenue role, probably from all the fundraising. He would probably move into a more BD centric role where he would then spend most of his time doing that, and maybe have an additional person. So yeah, you just force multiply what you can do, and that's a huge amount uh, of extra legroom that we would have to play around with. So yeah, I mean, what does it help with? Everything, absolutely everything. Everything can be done to a better standard, faster. That's the difficulty we try to sort of way up is getting out stuff quick enough to keep people's attention spans in check, but also so it's quality. So it's not just we've got to get something out, for the sake of it. So it's difficult. It's very difficult, but it's very important that we don't overstretch. So yeah, I hope that answers your question to a degree, mate.
Yeah, it does. It does, and it was kind of in line with what I thought it was for, but I just wanted to get a confirmation. And well, I guess I will just round out with, will I say, a suggestion, so to speak? Because for me, in my mind, the reactor has always kind of been a tool to help Arc, will I say, become a powerhouse, like a dev powerhouse, right? Because a lot of all these
Yep.
other projects as well, right? One thing that's
Yep.
lacking is I mean, quality devs, right? And if we have this tool that speeds it up, right? Then we can push that way. So yes, devs using the tool for sure, but then are concentrating its effort as well to actually dedicatedly be like a dev house with that super tool behind it. I don't know if you guys have that sort of scoped out in a way, and I know obviously you need more
No,
hands
that's
to do
that's
that.
that's correct. That's exactly right. I'll break down the fundraise. 40% of the round is going to be dedicated towards technology build out, team build out. 40. That's another 40%. 10% operations, basically our costs, and another 10%, which is marketing. So obviously we have to build a team. We have to support the technology build out. There's a lot of costs that go into developing all of these things. So that's the breakdown. That's where the money is really going to be dedicated towards. 40% technology build out, 40% team build out, 10% or 20% marketing and operations. What are our costs to keep things afloat? And then, of course, promoting the product, getting it into the appropriate channels, getting the right visibility, not just simply within Web3, but also in Web2 as well. We've built a product that can be leveraged by incumbent Web2 companies. So making sure that they're aware of who we are and how we can benefit or how we can allow them to leverage their existing developer base internally is really important. So messaging is a big part of it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Have you guys thought about, like, obviously we're on Twitter right now. Sorry, it seems like I'm taking over this whole space, but while I have you, I'm just banging away with questions. Like, do you guys have you thought about like promoted tweets, stuff like that, right? Because I see a lot of like crappy stuff out there, like, and it pops up because it's a promoted tweet, right? And I see that, or 2 seconds looking into it, and I know it's crap. But in a way of
Totally.
just like
That's part of an
inexpensively pushing out
Yeah,
your message.
it's definitely part of an omni-channel approach for sure. Twitter is a part of one of those strategies. Different news outlets, PR, television.
AJ, do you want me to answer the specific question? Yeah, very, very difficult with crypto. We get banned a lot. We get, you get shadow banned on your account if you can subtly try and do it, like by saying DeFi. We tried that for a while, and I got the account banned. But at Google are the same. I tried Google ads for a period of time, and I got around that with DeFi, and then they upgrade their algorithm on the advert stuff, and they're not particularly friendly with it. So
Okay,
it's harder.
that's good.
It's much harder to do, mate, to be honest, with crypto, or with people in the Web3 space. So yeah, but again, PR companies and stuff like that have got their way, their ways and means of getting these sorts of and that's where you pay big money for, that they put them in big articles and stuff. So, but there's loads going on like this. I've got a guy messaging me about social community. We've got that whole thing that AJ has applied for TJ for, which is that hello, the crypto entrepreneur, like the Web3 entrepreneur sort of Dragon's Den thing. So, I mean, it's just, yeah, there's numerous things, but we do have our finger on the pulse with regards to sort of the space. I can assure you that. So we've tried lots of different things, and we will continue to try lots of different things. So yeah, in short, that's kind of where we are.
Okay, great. Thanks. Thanks for taking the time to answer the questions. Just a bit of a reveal. I just feel like there's a lot of people on here that have taken their money in poker. So I'm MBO on Discord. So I'm B29 bomber. So now you know the voice to whoever's gonna take your money next in a poker in a
Okay.
poker tournament.
No, good, mate.
Uh,
It's good to hear people's voices, because you always wonder, sort of age, demographic, what nation they're from and stuff, and everyone sort of comes together on Discord just to abuse each other and stuff. So it's always good to speak to you. So thanks very much for jumping up, mate, and come speak anytime.
Cheers. Thanks.
No worries. Well, 2 people in one AMA. Times must be getting tough now, AJ, that we're under the cosh now. People are having to speak up. But is anyone else have any other questions, guys, before we wrap this up? Anything at all? No. Well, thank you, AJ, for jumping on all the way from Miami. You make sure you behave yourself for the rest of your trip, and we look forward to having some more information, and you grinding away and weaseling money out of people, hopefully. Thank you, E, for jumping up and vouching for us to a degree. Very surprised. I promise you that wasn't staged at all. But it's great to have you on. Some of your credibility as well. That That's very nice. Thank you very much. And Darth Crader MBO, thank you very much for jumping up and asking some questions. Feel free to do it anytime, mate. And like I said, there are no questions that we will shy away from. So thank you very much for coming up and chatting. And to everyone else for listening in, those of you who stayed around, and those of you who are listening in the future. For sort of any clipped recordings and stuff like that. Hopefully we've given you some more insight into what we're doing. But as always, the proof is in the pudding. So hopefully we'll churn out a decent swap to 2.5 for you, and look forward to having your feedback and stuff, whether it be in the form of abuse or constructive criticism. But thanks very much for hanging around, guys. You know where to find us if you have any more questions, whether it be private messages or on the Discord channels. But yeah, thank you very much for listening, and we will speak to you guys in the future. Cheers.
Have a nice week and ciao, guys.